From Washington, D.C., this is Middle East Focus. Greetings to all our listeners. My name is Lyne Sneige, and I'm the director of the Arts and Culture Center at the Middle East Institute in Washington, D.C. Today's podcast is one of the several programs coming out of our current exhibition, The Sea of Life, Modern and Contemporary Art from the Kingdom of Bahrain. The exhibition brings together the works of 14 artists spanning different art forms and generations, exploring their deep connection to their natural and built environment and the symbolism of water in their lives. The exhibition is a small snapshot of a much broader and rich art scene rooted in thousands of years of history and mythology. An art scene that is now growing and expanding, with many artists exploring new cultural expressions. The exhibition will be up until April 26 in our art gallery, so if you are in DC, stop by and check out this beautiful show. We are located on 1763 N Street Northwest and are open Mondays to Fridays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The exhibition has been made possible by the generous support of the National Arts Council of Bahrain and the RAK Art Foundation, and we are very grateful for their support and trust. This brings me to welcoming our special guest for today's podcast, Sheik Rashid Al Khalifa, a remarkable, established and seasoned artist and collector who looms large in Bahrain's art scene and beyond, and who has two stunning pieces in our current show. He's also the president of the National Arts Council and the founder of the RAK Art Foundation. He's played a significant role in making this exhibition possible through the important position he has in both organizations, but also as a participating artist. Welcome, Sheikh Rashid. We are so honored to host you on the program.
Thank you, Lynn, for hosting me. I'm happy to talk to you today.
Thank you. I look forward to our conversation today, during which we will speak about the many hats that you wear, the artist, the collector, and the visionary, of course, all against the backdrop of your official duties as a member of the royal family in Bahrain. But let me introduce you to our listeners before we jump into it. Sheikh Rashid Al Khalifa is recognized as the foremost patron of the arts in the Kingdom of Bahrain, and for his own prolific career as an artist. His artistic journey started in 1972 when he studied at Hastings College of Arts and Technology in Sussex. Upon his return to Bahrain, inspired by Europe's greatest impressionist masters, he began his own renditions of his country's landscapes, producing a series of paintings of the desert, sea, and historical sites. These works were first presented at the Middle East Institute in Washington, D.C. here in the 1980s. Al Khalifa's work has evolved throughout his long career, from impressionism to abstractions, figurative art, and in the last decade or so, his work sees a departure from canvas to metal and chrome, with stunning modern architectural structures and 3D works. His diversity in style and medium reflect his enduring desire to evolve as an artist, and he continues to draw inspiration from his experiences and natural environment. Rashid Al Khalifa continues to exhibit internationally in galleries, museums, and art fairs, all to great acclaim. He was first president and now honorary president of the Bahrain Art Society. He is also chair of the National Arts Council in Bahrain. An avid art collector, Al Khalifa established the RAK Art Foundation in 2020, dedicated to supporting artists and fostering cross-cultural collaborations and exchange. The foundation also houses and showcases his extensive collection of modern and contemporary art. And in 2020, Rizzoli published Rashid Al Khalifa, Full Circle, documenting his art, life, and connection to the country. Again, Sheikh Rashid, it is such a pleasure to welcome you on our program today.
Well, thank you very much for this beautiful introduction. It's too much for me.
Of course. Sheikh Rashid, I want to start at the beginning. Your first artwork was at age 16, on a mural in the house you grew up in and now graces the entrance of the RAK Art Foundation. So maybe I thought we start there. And my question to you, what is the story of that artwork? And how did the 16-year-old young man become an artist when possibly the life that was charted for him was a little different?
I started painting when I was at school, and I was encouraged by my teacher, art teacher, who liked my art. And also, my eldest brother was a painter. Well, draw in pencil more than paint. Yeah, so at school, we did murals. At high school, we did murals, and some of the leftover paints I brought with me to the house and found this location in the corner of our courtyard. And I did this mural. It's an abstract seascape. And I did it early afternoon. And later that afternoon, my mother found out about it and she was not pleased at all. And so I made myself as I didn't hear her and ran away to play football with other guys, and it stayed there since then. So it was just a passionate moment for painting, something. I saw that empty wall and just thought to myself that just needed something to be put on there, something.
And when did your journey as an artist really start, Sheikh Rashid?
Well, I think the spark, if I may call it, started at around 16 when I first found myself to be much more interested in that field. I could, then see myself excel more in the art than, let's say, in any other subjects. I was good at football, soccer, but I was better at basketball. But I found myself to be more comfortable when I did art. So I continued because many people have many talents and many, let's say, artistic talents, but they don't pursue it. They just give up, or others make them give up, or some circumstances. So I just found myself to be more comfortable when I paint or draw or something, and continued from the age of 16 onwards.
And then you left to Sussex to really study art, correct?
Yeah, after I finished my high school, I was given a scholarship not to do art. I was given a scholarship to go to England, UK, England. So I was given scholarship to do other subject, to be specialized in other fields. But my heart and passion did not allow me to pursue other careers. So I continued with art.
And we are very lucky that you did answer your calling. And Sheikh Rashid, your artistic journey has been so prolific and rich. You have gone, as I mentioned in the introduction, and just for our listeners to get the breadth of your cultural expression, you've gone from impressionism to abstractions and figurative arts, and then the last decade with the departure from canvas to metal and chrome and modern architectural structures. And you seem that you have gone through those phases seamlessly, as if one opening the door to another sort of phase in your artistic journey, but always rooted in your love and inspiration of your country's landscape, the colors, the lights. What were some of the turning points that made you go from one phase to the other so seamlessly? What were some of the important things that happened that triggered that evolution and transformation in your practice?
I'm like many artists and many sort of guys with some ideas and creativities. Ideas, they don't stop. They keep bombarding you with do this and do that. Whether you see something in an art exhibition, whether you see or you find a material, a medium to use, whether it's a trip to somewhere, whether it is just scribbling something and something come out of it. All of this just gives you a new idea. I mean, you take, for instance, oil paint. You can have it as thick as like cement, looking like mortar, or you could have it diluted to look almost like watercolor. Now the in between, you can have various, let's say, finishes, various look. You can draw with it, you can paint, you can have it impasto, you can have, so all of that gives you a varieties of possibilities. So the ideas just keeps coming, do this and do that. And, I mean, when I first discovered the oil bars, they were fantastic. You could draw with it, you could smudge it, you could add more oil and make more paint around it. So it gives me vitality for my work. So in the mid 90s, I used that oil bar as a medium for drawing the paintings and then adding colors to more impasto colors to fill in the spaces. So what I'm saying is that all the materials that you find, mediums, ideas, sketching, and also if there are any sort of, not a competition, but if there is some sort of a challenge, you want to do something that is not unique but original to yourself.
Yes.
You have to do something that you and you only have practiced it, or done it.
Yes. Hmm.
For instance, the artworks that I do, which is convex, the shape of a convex shape paintings, it came all by accident. I was not planning it. It just happened. Why? Because then I had three odd shapes of canvases and I put them together to create a triangle that could stand up in the middle of the room, which did not look well that time. So I start sketching and found convex shape. If you put two pieces back to back, they would stand in the middle of the room. And then it took me to another phases where I used aluminum and then also chrome. So using the aluminum in different shapes, different colors. So one leads to another. So when I started, let's say at the very, very beginning, doing desert scape, seascapes, and then I found this oil bars and I started drawing and became abstract. It's just materials and mediums and what you see, it's all everything, and you have ideas. So it's all together gives you this, triggers something new.
A lot of experimentation, a lot of exploration. I want to ask you, Sheikh Rashid, about this very strong connection with the nature, with the landscape, the colors of your homeland. This seems to have remained a constant in your changing practice. Where does this come from? In your book, you describe it almost like a belief that you have in nature.
Yeah, because you see, some of the colors I feel very comfortable with. It just puts you in a nicer mood. The palette of sort of desert colors or seascape colors, it just puts you in a better mood. That's how I just consider it. And also it's all around us, so whether we want it or not, it's we are surrounded by it, these seascape colors and desert colors, so we feel comfortable with it.
You certainly draw a lot of inspiration and connection to the nature and to nature as a strong constant in your work and in your being as an artist. That comes so strongly through your work. One almost feels, Sheikh Rashid, that you've given time and patience for your art and yourself to mature and to go from one phase to the other. Would you describe this time and patience as, your philosophy in your work?
Well, the phases really, it happened very subtle way, and it's in a very sort of gradual. It did not come to me as a quick jump. Yes, ideas come and go, but you have to feel comfortable with it. If you do some artwork, you have to like it. You have to feel that it is okay to carry on. So it's just a matter of experimenting and doing something that you like, that you have envisaged or felt of doing.
Yeah. Let's stop a little and speak about your latest work, the modern architectural work, the work that you've been doing with chrome, with metal. We have two stunning pieces in the show that anchor the exhibition. One is a mural, it's called Waves, and the other one is an installation called Standing Mobile. And although our listeners can't see it because they can only sort of listen to our conversation, maybe you can speak a little, Sheikh Rashid, about that body of work, the transition to chrome and metal and the 3D works, and how you blend. They look very modern, but in all of them, you also blend traditional elements. Can you speak about this a little bit as an example with Standing Mobile and the waves that we have in the show?
Yeah. The two pieces, all made from aluminum, and the waves one, which is about 3 meters long by 120. Mainly, the surface has a protruding lines that at the end it is a wavy looking surface, and they are placed next to each other. At the tip of the end of the rods, or the end has different colors. They have all different colors. So when you look at them from, let's say, the sides or the front or the other side, the image looks a little bit different from each corner or each place. So having the surface in a wavy sort of line, each one, so it looks like a wavy seascape, you know. So that's why I wanted to project or say, about the waves of the sea around Bahrain and that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the one on the floor, which is more related to architecture, the architecture of this region. And I did one which is suspended, but this one, the one exhibited at the moment, it's on the floor, and it has a reflected base. And what it is I took the idea, I used the idea of what we call here in this region mashrabiyya, which is the lattice work, or let us say the screens that are used to divide the living areas or to have them outside the building for privacy, to cut the sun rays in, but yet to allow air to come in. So the wooden structure, a lot of your listeners must have seen in pictures or in some other means of, the building of some of the buildings in this region. But my artwork is more contemporary, so I used it in my artwork, but it is all in white. So I have the essence of the mashrabiyya to use it in my artwork.
It's so beautiful and modern, but it also sometimes makes one think. Also, you've referred to similar structures in the past, that you also sometimes simulate the old alleyways of the old towns in Bahrain. And so this seamless between tradition and modernity is really stunning in the work.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Before we go and talk about your collection and the RAK Art Foundation, I want to ask you about a very recent artwork that you've realized. And I had the pleasure of, sitting down with you in Bahrain in the summer, and you showed me sketches of it. And it was wonderful to see it realized in the Giza Plateau in Egypt, just across from the pyramids. And that is a massive artwork
Yes.
that stands in the sand. And talk to us a little bit about this briefly, but have you worked with other people to realize a project like this, maybe structural engineers? And, this is land art almost. And do you feel that this is yet another passage in your work to something else?
Well, I was invited to take part in this annual, let's say, outdoor display of art pieces by the plateau of Giza pyramids in Egypt. And of course, the scene there is stunning. So I was very excited. I got very excited when I got invited. So I went through some of the history of Egypt and all of that. And I read that in the old Greek mythology, they talked about a lost labyrinth in the southern part of Egypt. In that mythology, they describe this lost labyrinth in a very much detailed, details of the whole labyrinth having 12 gates on 2 floors and has 3,000 rooms and so many columns and so many courtyards. The description was in details, a lot of details. And in the 16th century, a German scholar, and he was astrologist, he was a physician, he was a mathematician, he did a lot of science and what have you. He did a drawing or envisaged a drawing of this labyrinth, and he published it in one of his books. So his drawings inspired me to do something because I have some keenness to labyrinths as a whole. So I thought of a lost labyrinth, but fragmented labyrinth. So I start sketching, and I used some of the drawings of this German scholar, and then I sort of had them made to look like pieces that have been lost and abandoned in the desert. So though I exhibited 12 of them in different sizes and different colors, and the tallest piece was feet, would be about 25.
Wow, that's massive.
Yeah, yeah. So they were quite high. So, different pieces, and then you can walk around them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we get to talking about other things, do you think this is yet another phase of taking your art maybe outside?
Well, yeah, why not? Because you see, ideas never stop. I've been asked to do something here in Bahrain by the old fort, historical fort. So I said, why not just give me time to think about it?
Absolutely. And we are yet to perhaps witness and enjoy another sort of transformation in your art practice. But you're not only an established artist, but you're also a seasoned collector. And you've started an art foundation that has a strong impact on artists and the art scene in Bahrain. And I want to talk about all of that with you as well. But first, as a collector, Sheikh Rashid, when did you start collecting? And how would you describe yourself as a collector? How would you maybe describe the purpose of your collection? Why do you collect and how did you build it up? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I didn't think about collecting, it just happened. I mean, for instance, when I was at the art college in 1975, 76, I happened to visit London, UK, and I saw a print by the famous sculptor, British sculptor Henry Moore. And I liked it, but of course, our extra money was not enough.
Mhm.
So I saved some money, and a couple of months later, and I went and bought it to the anger and to disgust of my other friends with me. They thought I was crazy. And then I kept it with me. Later on, when I started to exhibit with other artists here locally, I just saw some of the pieces were nice of some of the artworks. So I started to buy from one or two, then kept them, but never thinking of collecting. Never thought of creating a collection. And in a matter of fact, some of them I gave them away to other friends, sort of buying it and give it to others as a present. on some of the occasions. But later on, they kept piling up. So later on, when I managed to take my family old house, and I said, how about I put these pieces over there? So it just led from one point to another, if you know what I mean. It just started to place them and display them in this renovated space and so on. And now I'm sort of filling in the gap, if you know what I'm saying. For instance, if I have an artist that I have his painting from an early work or latest work, I want to have some of his painting from the early works or the middle. Or if he did watercolor, I want some of his painting in oil or acrylic. So to cover his journey, that particular artist, I'm trying to be more specific.
As you build up your collection. And we know also that you are a great supporter of Bahraini artists, trying to encourage new artists and supporting the art scene in this way. Let's speak a little bit more about the RAK Art Foundation. You established it in 2020. And what is the mission of the foundation? Was it to house the collection, or was it to really establish a home for Rashid Khalifa's vision, perhaps? Anybody who is in Bahrain, you must stop by the RAK Art Foundation. I visited, and it's absolutely a pleasure to the eye and a wonderful institution, really. Talk to us a little bit about your foundation.
Well, I was elected as president of the Art Society in 1983. I was the first president for the Art Society. Since then, I've always been with the artist, young one and senior ones, established ones, emerging ones. So having the support, sort of being with them and encouraging them and let's say, exhibiting with them and working alongside with them, gives them this passion, gives them this encouragement. And so I started then, in 1973. We formed our art society with the group, and we did many shows, even in Miami, a couple of times, in Singapore, and Switzerland, England. So we went, but of course, we didn't have enough resources to carry on, So we did regionally and nationally. So we continued, but later on, of course, when I acquired the house, my family house, I started displaying my collections. And then I branched off a little bit and made it into a foundation, not only to host the artworks, but to empower artists in general, whether it's in Bahrain, regional or international, encouraging artists. And we hosted artists from abroad for residencies for a few months, and we are hosting again some artists from outside Bahrain and encouraging them. We are setting up a space for the creative individuals in various fields and so on.
I see that the purpose and the mission of the foundation evolved. And is the collection at all, or is there any public engagement with the foundation? Can people come in and visit? Can they visit the exhibition? Are there programs for the general audience in Bahrain?
Yeah, it's open to the public twice a week, and there are demand, for more visitors. And because of the timing that we have with some, let's say, personnel, so we are only at the moment having it twice a week. But we will have programs for, let's say, lectures and workshops, and as I said, residencies. Not actually at the foundation, but we have other spaces in Bahrain, but not actually at the foundation itself. So we have programs, and I hope you will visit us and to see again, what we are planning to do.
I would love to. And it's wonderful that the collection is shared like this, and that there is space for those conversations to be had that triggers a lot of ideas and collaborations and possibilities, as we know. And the art scene, I mean, it is clear, it is evident, Sheikh Rashid, that the art scene in Bahrain is at a really a point of expansion and exploration and cultural production and younger artists exploring new cultural expressions, etc. From your experience and where you sit in the National Arts Council and in the RAK Art Foundation, and I understand those are two different institutions, what do you think is mostly needed in Bahrain at the moment to support artists and get the art scene to the next level?
The most urgent one, in my view, is some sort of educational structure. Because, yes, art in general, you need to have some sort of a passion and talents and experience. But we need, in my view, the basis for education. And you need a structured educational program. What we have at the moment is just something quite simple, or added to another subject in the educational program. It's not a separate educational identity. So, what I see is that we need a standalone art faculty type, art college, art, which we are planning to do, we are working on, but we still hasn't, sort of been able to complete it, but we are trying. So, in my view, is education, training, and more grants for artists, more visits and visit abroad, exhibition, establishing of sort of real gallery and educating gallerists on how to market, let's say, the artist works. This has been lacking behind here because we don't have really professionalism in managing and running galleries as a whole. What we have is not enough. We need more. And we need also an international type of experience to help us with it. It's a lot needed.
But that is very encouraging that there is a realization or the start of developing a formal education in the arts and helping professionalize and develop the support and the infrastructure of the cultural sector. That is wonderful to hear. And, looking ahead, and perhaps my last question to you, Sheikh Rashid, what are some of the future projects for you as an artist? Or, you've spoken about the broader sort of things that are being planned in Bahrain. But for you as an artist, are you looking at any sort of future projects, future exhibitions that that are in the works?
I have some opportunities coming up. I'm working on them. Some of them are small, some of them, medium size project. There is one possible one-man show at a museum in Germany next year. There is a few others. From the Egyptian participation, the labyrinth, there is a sort of request to do something similar for other sites. And one unique request came from Portugal for me to design a gate for a large house, which they have a gate, a metal gate, and they want something similar in that design or that feel as a gate for their not palace but a house. I mean a big house. So there is some interest that I'm looking forward to complete and to work on. The museum in Geneva have asked me to look at the possibility of doing a large piece for their courtyard. So there's one here, and there is in Croatia.
Lots of projects in the works and lots of projects of putting your artwork outside.
Yeah, and there is also possibility of doing a show in linking Istanbul, Sofia, and Greece. At Athens together in a traveling art show. Exhibition.
Yes, that is fantastic. And with some of them, we also see your appreciation and love for design and architecture that is coming through as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yes, yes. So before we wrap up, I just want to thank you, Sheikh Rashid, for sitting down with me across oceans and time zones so that we get to know you better as an artist and as a collector, as one of the participating artists in this wonderful exhibition that we've had the pleasure to present here at the Middle East Institute Art Gallery.
Thank you.
And this has been such a pleasure and an honor to be in conversation with you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and insights with me today.
Thank you for hosting me. And I still remember when I exhibited in 1982 at the Middle East Institute. I still remember the building. I still remember how visitors during that time appreciated my work.
And you should see how much audiences are appreciating your work now.
I did some art landscape there, exhibited, and one visitor said to me, "Where is the Arabian horses?" And I said, "I said to him, well, I haven't painted any Arabian horses." No, no, you should do an art exhibition and bring it to us in Texas. All Arabian horses. You should bring paint Arabian horses.
Well, we've clearly well moved on from this, Sheikh Rashid, that I can assure you. And, that story brings us full circle, as your book is titled, through your remarkable journey as an artist, a collector, and a visionary.
Thank you.
Thank you again. And for our listeners, our segment has come to an end. Please check our exhibition that is up until April 26th at the MEI Art Gallery and the work of our esteemed guest and artist, Sheikh Rashid Al Khalifa today. All is also on our site, www.mei.edu, Arts and Culture Center, and follow us on social media Insta account and our Twitter handle at MEI Arts Culture.
This has been a presentation of the Middle East Institute. To support MEI's programs and podcasts, please donate at www.mei.edu. Thank you for your support.